Welcome to the Equipped Disciple channel. My name is Rick McClatchy. We are here to be and to make disciples of Jesus, and we do that through daily devos, through Sunday sermons, and through other discipleship resources. We are here to equip you. All right, welcome in. We are hitting day 14 of the Building a Bible Habit in 2026, which means we are looking at Mark chapter 14. And we're getting towards the end of the chapter, or end of the book here now. It's got 16 chapters in the book of Mark. And so we are getting towards the tail end. So let's just jump right on in to verse 1. It was 2 days. It's a long chapter, so we're going to just get cracking. You know what I'm saying? It was 2 days before the Passover and the festival of unleavened bread. The chief priests and the scribes were looking for a cunning way to arrest Jesus and kill him, not during the festival, they said, so that there won't be a riot among the people. While he was in Bethany at the house of Simon the leper, he was reclining at the table. A woman came with an alabaster jar of very expensive perfume of pure nard. She broke the jar and poured it on his head. But some were expressing indignation to one another. Why has this perfume been wasted? For this perfume might have been sold for more than 300 denarii and given to the poor. And they began to scold her. Okay, so I methinks you must protest too much. You know what like, come on, buddy, what's going on here? Like, what's really happening? Because are you giving money to the poor yourself, or are you just trying to find some way to criticize? Jesus replied, leave her alone. Why are you bothering her? She has done a noble thing. So Jesus tells them to back off, leave her alone. Why are you bothering her? And she has done a noble thing of high character, of high moral value. Jesus says, you always have the poor with you, and you can do what is good for them whenever you want, but you do not always have me. She has done what she could. I love that. She has done what she could. And I think that's good for you and me to remember, that Jesus is measuring us, our heart response based on what we can do, not what somebody else is doing. He's giving it to, like, look at what do you have at your disposal? What do you have available to you? Much like the woman that gave the 2 mites, right, into the offering. And he was like, man, she has given more than any of these other wealthy people that were dumping in tons of money, because she gave out of her lack, out of what she had left, and they were giving out of their abundance. Like, they weren't even hardly feeling what they were giving. So she has done what she could, and she has anointed my body in advance for burial. Truly, I tell you, wherever the gospel is proclaimed in the whole world, what she has done will be told in memory of her, as it just was today. See, we just read about it, and we're telling you the story about her. So it's true. Then Judas Iscariot, one of the 12, went to the chief priests to betray Jesus to them. And then when they heard this, they were glad and promised to give him money. So he started to look for an opportunity to betray Jesus. On the first day of unleavened bread, when they sacrificed the Passover lamb, his disciples asked him, where do you want us to go and prepare the Passover so that you may eat it? So he sent 2 of his disciples and told them, go into the city, and a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him. Wherever he enters, tell the owner of the house, the teacher says, where is my guest room where I may eat the Passover with my disciples? And he will show you a large room upstairs, furnished and ready. Furnished and ready. Make the preparations for us there. So the disciples went out and entered the city and found it just as he told them. And they prepared the Passover. I love it. Like, Jesus just knows what's going on. So if he can plan that kind of stuff, he can help you with what's going on in your life. Can I get an amen with that? Come on. When evening came, he arrived with the 12, and while they were reclining and eating, Jesus said, truly, I tell you, one of you will betray me, one who is eating with me. They began to be distressed and to say to him one by one, surely not I. Every one of them denying it like crazy. And he said to them, "It is one of the 12, the one who is dipping bread in the bowl with me. For the Son of Man will go just as it is written about him. But woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been better for him if he had not been born." As they were eating, he took bread, blessed and broke it, and gave it to them. And he said, "Take it. This is my body." So he's starting to like really share these things with them. And then he took a cup, and after giving thanks, he gave it to them, and they drank from it. And he said to them, "This is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many. Truly, I tell you, I will no longer drink of the fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new in the kingdom of God." And after singing a hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives. Then Jesus said to them, "All of you will fall away, because it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered. But after I have risen, I will go ahead of you to Galilee." I love how Jesus is not intimidated, not scared, not afraid, not worried about the fact that they are going to abandon him. He's just calling it out so that they're not completely shocked and derailed. I love that Jesus gives some warning. Now, they don't respond with a humble heart and say, "Tell me more about this, Jesus. Is this something that could be avoided? Can you help me?" No, they just deny, 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 and they try to convince themselves that they're not going to be the ones, you know? So Peter told him, "Even if everyone falls away, I will not. Truly, I tell you," Jesus said to him, "today, this very night, before the rooster crows twice, you will deny me 3 times." But he kept insisting, "Come on, man. Don't you know Jesus yet? Don't you know that he has calmed the storms? He's told the wind and the waves to be still. So if he's telling you you're going to have a bad night, I'm thinking you're probably going to have a bad night. So just instead of trying to defend yourself, like I said, instead of trying to defend yourself, why not ask for help? Why not humble yourself? Why not ask, like, can this be avoided? You know, because that's where, God resists the proud. He gives grace to the humble. What might have happened if Peter had taken that kind of an approach? But God worked mightily, even in, not even in spite of, but like through and with that mistake, that horrible mistake that he made, turning his back on Jesus to the crowds there. So he took Peter, James, and John with him. Well, let's see here. But he kept insisting, "If I have to die with you, I will never deny you." And they all said the same thing. So Peter wasn't alone. He wasn't the only guy. No, all of them were like, "Bro, I got you, man. Like, doesn't matter. Like, if I have to die, I will not deny you. Like, I will die before I will deny you, man." So then they came to the place called Gethsemane, and he told his disciples, "Sit here while I pray." He took Peter, James, and John with him, and he began to be deeply distressed and troubled. And he said to them, "I am deeply grieved to the point of death. Remain here and stay awake." He went a little further, fell to the ground, and prayed that if it were possible, the hour might pass from him. So I love that Jesus demonstrates the ability to pray any kind of prayer to God that you want to pray. Like Jesus, the Son of God, is asking him if there's some way that the cross can be avoided, because he doesn't want to go through that pain. He doesn't want to go through that experience. So, verse 36, and he said, "Abba, Father, all things are possible for you. Take this cup away from me. Nevertheless, not what I will, but what you will." And that's how and where you can pray any kind of prayer you want to pray, because you are couching it in surrender. You're putting in a place where it's like, you know what? I'm going to tell you, Lord, exactly how I feel about this and exactly how much I don't want to do it. But the place that I'm going to land in this conversation is I'm going to land on a surrender, a place of surrender where, Lord, not my will, but yours be done. All right, verse 37, then he came and he found them sleeping, and he said, "Peter, Simon, are you sleeping? Could you not stay awake 1 hour? Stay awake and pray so that you won't enter into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Jesus just calling it out there. I mean, have you ever been in that situation where your spirit inside you had a strong desire to want to do the thing, like get up early and pray, to whatever the thing might be? Your spirit was energized to do it, but your flesh was getting you, you know? And so that's where so stay awake and pray so that you won't enter into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Once again, he went away and prayed, and he said the same thing. So he said the same thing again, like, please let this cup pass from me, but nevertheless, not what I will, but what you will. So I love that he didn't just pray it one time, he prayed it 2 times. He came back and he was like, just checking in one more time. Is this possible? Can we make this happen? And again, he came and he found them sleeping because they could not keep their eyes open. And they didn't know what to say to him. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, I can't keep my eyes open. And they came a third time and said to them, he came a third time to them and said to them, are you still sleeping and resting? Enough. Time has come. See, the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Get up, let's go. See, my betrayer is near. While he was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, suddenly arrived. With him was a mob with swords and clubs from the chief priests and the scribes and the elders. His betrayer had given them a signal. The one I kiss, he said. He's the one. Arrest him and take him away under guard. So when he came, immediately he went up to Jesus and said, Rabbi, and kissed him. They took hold of him and arrested him. One of those who stood by drew his sword, struck the high priest's servant, and cut off his ear. So other gospels indicate that this was Peter that did this, being wild and crazy Peter. A lot of people would count the book of Mark to be Peter's gospel, basically scribed by John Mark. And so basically, I don't know if it's John Mark just being nice, and so he didn't call him out by name or whatever. But so one of those who stood by drew a sword, struck the high priest's servant, and cut off his ear. And Jesus said to them, have you come out with swords and clubs as if I were a criminal to capture me? Because he's like, dude, every day I was among you teaching in the temple, and you didn't arrest me, but the scriptures must be fulfilled. And then they all deserted him and ran away. They all deserted him and ran away, just like he said. Now, a certain young man wearing nothing but a linen cloth was following him, and they caught hold of him, but he left the linen cloth behind and ran away buck naked, right? And so, and most scholars actually agree that this guy that ran away naked was John Mark, the guy that wrote this book. So that's kind of just a fun trivia moment right there. But it's also cool because he had kind of this embarrassing, crazy moment in his life, comes back to be a missionary, a church planter, a writer of a book of the Bible. So, he did good things with his life, even though he had a night that was probably a little regrettable, And so they led Jesus away to the high priest, and all the chief priests, the elders, and the scribes assembled. Peter followed him at a distance, right into the high priest's courtyard, and he was sitting with the servants, warming himself by the fire. And the chief priests and the whole Sanhedrin were looking for testimony against Jesus to put him to death, but they could not find any. Live your life in such a way that when people say bad things about you, nobody will believe it, And that's kind of what was going on. Jesus lived his life in such a way they couldn't even find false testimony people. For many were giving false testimony against him, and the testimonies did not agree. So because they were making all the stuff up, there was no real stuff for them to report. They were making stuff up, and so nothing was agreeing. Some stood up and gave false testimony against him, stating, we heard him say, I will destroy this temple made with human hands, and in 3 days I will build another not made by hands. Yet their testimony did not agree even on this. And then the high priest stood up before them all and questioned Jesus, don't you have an answer to what these men are testifying against you? What you got to say for yourself, Jesus? But he kept silent and did not answer. Again, the high priest questioned him, are you the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed One? I am, said Jesus. And you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power and coming with the clouds of heaven. See, Jesus is just telling the truth. But then the high priest tore his robes and said, why do we still need witnesses? You have heard the blasphemy. What is your decision? They all condemned him as deserving death. And then some began to spit on him, to blindfold him, to beat him, saying, prophesy. Like they're like, hey, tell me who hit you, because he's blindfolded. The temple servants also took him and slapped him. While Peter was in the courtyard below, one of the high priest's maidservants came. And when she saw Peter warming himself, she looked at him and said, you also were with Jesus, the man from Nazareth. But he denied it. I don't know or understand what you're talking about. And he went out to the entryway, and a rooster crowed. And when the maidservant saw him again, she began to tell those standing nearby, this man is one of them. Like, you can't live your life for 3 years following a guy around in close proximity, like the closest proximity. But again, he denied it. After a little while, those standing there said to Peter again, you certainly are one of them, since you're also a Galilean. And then he started to curse and swear, I don't know this man that you are talking about. Immediately, a rooster crowed a second time, and Peter remembered when Jesus had spoken the word to him. Before the rooster crows twice, you will deny me 3 times. He broke down and wept. This is a turning point in Peter's life for sure. We're going to have to wait to the next chapter to begin to see what in the world is going to happen with Peter coming out of that denial period. We're going to see what happens to Jesus, because Jesus is right there on the verge of going to the cross. So lots of crazy stuff happening. Pretty important stuff. So again, I love going back to the woman that broke the alabaster jar and anointed Jesus' head with oil, with the perfume, and how people tried to shut her down because her worship was too extravagant. And it makes me think of people in church who want to dance, or who want to wave a banner, or who want to just shout hallelujah or shout Jesus, And some people look at that and they're frustrated by it. They're weirded out by it. But it's like, man, do you know who it is that you're worshiping? And that he's worth so much more than what we are offering him. And so I just love her extravagant worship, to pour out on Jesus all that she had, to thank him and to worship him and honor him and appreciate him. And it ministered to Jesus so much so that he told those stinking guys to back off, leave her alone, quit bothering her. She's doing everything that she can. Like, she's doing all that she could. And that's what we need to ask ourselves. Are we doing all that we can? Are we giving everything that we have to Jesus? Because he's certainly worth it. So with that, God bless you. Have a tremendous day in every way, and I will see you tomorrow. If you're getting value out of these videos, if you could just make sure you hit the like button, maybe subscribe to the channel. You could share the video around, and also YouTube is suggesting a video right about here for you to check out. So go ahead and check out the next video. God bless you. Have a great day. Thanks for being a part.